Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're taking a journey back in time to the kitchens of a different era. These were meals born from calloused hands, muddy boots, and 12-hour shifts. These weren't fancy recipes. They were heavy, honest meals built to feed the men and women who built everything else. They were designed to last, to be stretched, and most importantly, to provide comfort when things were tough. Many of these dinners have been forgotten, but today we're bringing them back to the table for one more round. Simple ingredients, incredible flavor. You could smell it down the street bubbling away in a chipped enamel pot. Ham hocks and cabbage. Ham hocks were dirt cheap and cabbage was even cheaper. But when they were slow cooked together, they created something far bigger than the sum of their parts. The magic lies in the patience. The meat becomes so soft it falls right off the bone, and the cabbage soaks up every last drop of that smoky broth. This was unfussy, no cookbook-needed cooking. You just threw it all in, let it go low and slow, and by sundown, dinner was ready. As one viewer who is 76 shared, they still make many of these recipes, and their husband loves them. Another commenter, who grew up on a small farm, said they ate these dishes regularly and never forgot them. This dish truly embodies that waste not, want not philosophy that was a way of life for so many. And if you were lucky enough to have leftovers, you had the ultimate day two meal. We're talking about the cold meatloaf sandwich. This was the blue-collar bento box. No heating, no hassle, just grab and go cold. A thick slice of cold meatloaf, a squeeze of yellow mustard, and 2 pieces of soft white bread. That was it. But when done right, it was all the comfort of a warm meal without the stove. The flavors, which were already great, often improved overnight as the fat firmed up. One viewer remembered their mom making meatloaf sandwiches that were delicious and hearty, and another, raised during the Depression, said their mother would make them, and they still love them to this day. For some, it was a memory of home, with the loaf stuffed with a hard-boiled egg in the middle. As one commenter put it, they still love these sandwiches and never tire of them. Stretching a dollar with ingenuity. Speaking of stretching a dollar, let's talk about stuffed bell peppers. It looked fancy, but it was all about the math. This was a clever way to turn 1 pound of ground beef into a meal for 5 or 6 people. The trick was the filler. Rice made it stretch, and the peppers held it all together like edible containers. You'd brown the beef, fold in the rice and some tomato paste, and pack it all into the hollowed-out peppers. Into the oven they went, bubbling with whatever sauce you could whip together. This humble and dependable meal provided meat, starch, and vegetables all at once, so no side dish was needed. One viewer said their mother, a child during the Depression, made stuffed peppers, stuffed cabbage, and meatloaf to feed their family. For another, their grandmother made stuffed peppers every Friday for decades, and it was a true comfort food for them. When meat was even scarcer, you might turn to a cut like oxtail. It wasn't the kind of meat you bragged about, but it brought a deep flavor to the table. Once considered scraps, oxtails became the star of slow-cooked meals in kitchens that had more time than money. After hours of simmering with vegetables and barley, the meat would soften and fall from the bone, and the broth would thicken into a silky, rich stew. As a viewer noted, oxtails were and still are an awesome and hearty meal. For a truly affordable and resourceful meal, families turned to pork neck bones. The bones were browned with chopped onions, then simmered with water or broth until the meat softened and the liquid reduced into a silky, savory gravy. The gravy was poured over fluffy rice, creating a memorable meal from simple ingredients. It was a smart choice for stretching meat to feed a family and a Southern classic. Simple dinners with rich history. Then there was the classic hamburger gravy on mashed potatoes. This meal didn't need an introduction, it just needed a fork. You'd brown a pound of ground beef in a skillet, whisk in a spoonful of flour, then slowly add milk or water until it thickened into a rich, creamy gravy. This was a meal that came together in minutes and was a go-to for working families. It was hot, filling, and felt like a treat. One person recalled missing their grandma's hamburger gravy for breakfast. For a weekend dinner that felt a bit more special, breaded veal cutlets with instant mashed potatoes was a go-to. These were thin, crispy, golden, and quick to cook. A cheap slice of veal was dredged in flour, egg, and breadcrumbs, then fried in a hot skillet. Served with creamy, buttery instant mashed potatoes, it was a winning combination for families juggling time, bills, and hungry mouths. One viewer remembered this meal and said the story brought back the stories and the heart of a time when food meant family, grit, and gratitude. A true classic is Salisbury steak, the closest many families got to eating steak. Ground beef was mixed with breadcrumbs, egg, and seasoning, then formed into oval patties. The patties were seared and then simmered in a rich mushroom gravy. Served with instant mashed potatoes and frozen peas, it was a hot and filling meal that felt special even on a weeknight. As one person commented, their father used to make cube steak, and they believe this dish hasn't gone anywhere, and they're right. Another viewer noted that the idea of forgotten chicken fried steak is something you only hear from someone who has never been to a truck stop. Pantry magic and culinary illusions. Many of these dishes came straight from the pantry. Tuna noodle casserole, for example, was a dish that came together from memory, not a recipe card. It was pantry magic, built on whatever you had in the cupboard. A creamy white sauce was combined with a drained can of tuna and egg noodles, creating a comforting, hearty meal. Another pantry classic was canned tamale pie, a Tex-Mex-inspired comfort food that could feed everyone at the table. It was made without a recipe card by browning ground beef, adding a can of corn and tomatoes, and seasoning with chili powder. A cornbread topping was poured over the mixture and baked until golden. It provided survival food dressed in Sunday flavor. Then there was mock chicken legs. This was the ultimate culinary illusion. Known as city chicken, it was a food trick where pork or veal cubes were skewered, breaded, and fried to resemble a drumstick. This dish was born in butcher shops where pork was cheaper than chicken, a creative way to make a budget-friendly meal feel special and kid-friendly. The result was juicy meat on a stick with a crunchy shell, a kid-friendly meal that felt like a treat even though no actual chicken was involved. From the farm to the table. Some dishes spoke to true self-sufficiency, like braised rabbit. Rabbit was a workingman's protein because it was lean, available, and cheap at a time when other meats were a luxury. After a morning hunt, the rabbit was quickly prepared, seared, and then slow-cooked in a broth with root vegetables from the garden. The entire cooking process was a testament to the waste not, want not philosophy. When meat was even more scarce, people turned to humble, bony, and often overlooked cuts. Beef heart with parsnips, for example, was a humble choice from the Depression era. It was cheap, lean, and muscular, with a deep flavor that only revealed itself with time. The long cooking process softened the heart into a tender and rich stew, with the parsnips adding a sweet, earthy note. It was a humble meal that made something honest out of almost nothing. And then there was scrapple. This dish was born out of necessity and ingenuity, a clever way to ensure no part of an animal went to waste. This pork-based mush, made from leftover meat and cornmeal, was sliced and fried until crisp on the outside and often served as a hearty breakfast. A taste of home. The meals we'll explore today were more than just food. They were a symbol of sacrifice, love, and the incredible resourcefulness of our parents and grandparents. These simple, hearty dinners were the backbone of motivation and a powerful lesson in humility and gratitude. As one viewer commented, watching this video made them appreciate the sacrifices that my parents and grandparents made in order to make sure I was full and happy. It's this spirit of making do and making it count that we celebrate today. This legacy is still being passed down, with one commenter sharing that their parents raised their family on these meals in the 60s and 70s, and now they are raising their daughters the same way to teach them the value of love and to be humble and grateful. These meals were more than just food. They were a lifeline. They were a testament to the resilience, ingenuity, and fierce pride of a generation that refused to waste anything and knew how to make something out of almost nothing. They remind us that the best meals aren't always the most expensive or the most complicated, but the ones that fill you up, warm your spirit, and bring a taste of home to the table. As one person said, they were raised on this kind of food and still make these dishes, often to the shock of their spouse, who marvels at how they can throw together a meal with whatever is in the kitchen. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope these stories and dishes bring back some warm memories for you too. What are some of your favorite recipes from your childhood that you still make today? Let me know in the comments below.